stop. Oh no. You want to start the song? No, we can go for it. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna continue. So we're gonna continue. So sorry we had technical difficulties. So we're back with you, and we stopped at.
We were talking about a point you were expounding about background, and then you did start into provision.
Okay. So yes, I was saying that I feel like a man needs to be able to provide provision for you, which is something that I think I wish I knew, because I was married for 13 years, and at like 25 I got married, and it's a lot of things I didn't know. So I'm thinking back also on things that would have helped me beforehand. I didn't have any counseling. Counseling is very important. So it's important to sit down with an experienced person in a relationship. It doesn't have to be like a counselor, but it could be like an elder person or someone who had been married for several years and a successful marriage, and they give sound advice, because I didn't get that, and I could avoid a lot of heartache and issues that I went through in my relationship if I would have gotten counseling. But provision is an area that the man needs to be able to, sorry, my shirt, you guys. A man needs to be able to provide for you. If he wants you as his wife, he needs to be able to at least pay, the rent, and, provide for you basically. And any other provision that he is supposed to provide, he needs to discuss that with you in terms of like if he pays the rent and you pay the utilities or whatever. But all that needs to be discussed ahead of time before you even get married, because you need to have all that set so when you do go into the marriage, you'll know, he's going to pay the rent and all the bills, and my money can go to savings or whatever. But that's a discussion that needs to be had. You can't just assume that this man is going to know, your husband is going to know these things when you come from different backgrounds and different upbringings and different financial statuses. So yeah, that's very important.
Absolutely. Like, I think us as a community, we kind of don't do the financial planning thing with our partners and our soon-to-be spouses. And so when we don't discuss that, when we go into marriage and we have financial hiccups, it's almost like you don't know what to do. You kind of have to just roll with the flow. But having a financial plan, whether, like Wanda said, whether the wife's going to be paying utilities, or the man's going to be paying rent, or you coming together on certain finances or certain bills, that's going to help you be able to financially plan, and then also to possibly create a savings, because every family needs that. You don't know what's going to come up, and then eventually children does come up in marriages, so you just need to have a financial plan. So I definitely agree with that. Another point I had made about what I wish I would have known in marriage or before I got married is just some spiritual beliefs, right? I think there's a scripture that says, how can two walk together, yes, lest they both be agreed. So I think also too, knowing and having the same spiritual practices and beliefs is going to unify you in marriage. If you're having differing view of doctrine, that's going to bring up problems in marriage. And I feel like if you are interested in someone and it's getting really serious, that's something that's number one, because the Most High is literally the glue and foundation of marriages. So I feel like if you don't have that, set up and agreed upon, it could lead to some chaos. What do you think on that, like spiritual?
Definitely, I definitely agree with that, because in the relationship, it could be somewhat of a tug of war going on. You spend more time disagreeing with each other's values and thinking and belief system. You spend so much time arguing about that, then you can't even be productive in that relationship and grow closer with each other, get to know each other better, because you're at odds with a lot. So it is helpful if it's almost detrimental, to be honest, that both people have the same spiritual practice. They have the same belief system. Otherwise, it could be a long road. Like even especially when you also have children and you bring children in it, and then you think one way, spiritual practice, your wife has a different one, or husband does, and then you guys can't agree upon how you're going to raise your son. So daughter or children, so that could be a problem. So that's very important, being on the same page, being on one accord. Two, walking together in agreement, you can get more accomplished than two at odds with each other about everything. And you also have to consider that we're spiritual beings, and so the spiritual implications and aspect of it is very, very important. So
Absolutely. Another point that I had to, discuss with Wanda is, sorry guys, it just left me. Another point was knowing yourself, before you get into marriage, and then allowing yourself to grow in that. Like, I feel like a lot of young people, especially when they come together and get married, they feel like they're learning themselves all over again. And I think that comes along with merging your life with someone and, learning them, but in the process, you're still learning yourself being young. So I have a question for you, Wanda. How do you not lose yourself within marriage? Because a lot of people say that, like, I feel like I'm losing myself, I don't know myself, I don't know who I am anymore. And what do you think about that, and what would you advise for young women who are in marriage, or women in general who are in marriage and they're trying to find themselves or trying not to lose themselves? What do you think about that?
in my opinion, with the losing yourself whole dilemma, you are one with that person. So you and that person are one, and you are that is your life. Like, I feel like that's kind of a selfish perspective, you losing yourself, because when you say I do to someone, and as a woman you saying I do to a husband, you become one with him to fulfill his purpose, his calling, or his purpose in this earth, right? You're helping him. So if you're thinking like, I don't want to lose myself, and that's going to be a challenge for you, because you're already looking at yourself and not looking at you guys as a married couple. The plan or the purpose that you have as a couple. So yes, you have a purpose as an individual, but when you get married, that purpose becomes a twofold purpose for the marriage. So it's a purpose for the marriage, and you have your role and he has his. Nobody can really lose themselves in that, like, your purpose is outside of the marriage. Your purposes should be inside the marriage. So that is your purpose, to be a good wife, to be a good mother, to, if you want to do business, create a business. I mean, most marriages should have some type of desire, or relationships should have a desire to have a business, to own land, or to buy a house. That's what families do together to build a legacy for their children. So that is your purpose. So in terms of that part, you just basically, you'll be like the Proverbs 31 woman, for example. If you read the biblical scriptures, Proverbs 31, it describes the virtuous woman. That woman was not so focused on losing herself. She had her role in the marriage, and she was fulfilled completing her role in the relationship. So if you look at it that way, you won't feel like you're losing yourself. Yes, you can maintain your individuality, and that you and your husband, you respect each other's, ideas and opinions and stuff like that, and you won't feel like you're losing yourself. If you're in a marriage where both people respect each other and honor each other, and you just feel like you're adding to the marriage and bringing your best self into the marriage to make the relationship strong and productive.
That's good stuff. That's wise counsel. That is good counsel, because I think that has a lot to do with, like, mentality and shifting that. Because I'm not gonna lie, within our generation, we are kind of taught to, like, focus on ourselves and not really how to be homemakers and wives. So I think that's really wise counsel. And I think I said in the video, it's okay, like the other video that I posted on my channel, it's okay to have hobbies that you do, things that you're good at, your talents, and expounding on them, like Wanda said, through business. But it's a important thing to reshift your focus and your family becoming your life, your husband, and then eventually if you have children, or if you gonna have children, that becoming your main focus. That's good stuff. Very good. So another thing, a lot of people, you know, or even myself, what I think or what I wish I would have known before marriage, is about like what they don't tell you is like how distant you possibly will be from your family. And this is not necessarily like location wise, but your attention and your focus is different. You know what I'm saying? You go from, you know, spending so much time with your family to not spending and being that available for your family. So what do you have to say on that? Is that something you experience within marriage, or is that like a secluded kind of thing?
Well, we gotta always, our chat is always biblically based first. And some people may not have the same spiritual practice that we have, or believe in the biblical scriptures, but it's still, the advice that we provide can go and can apply to anyone in any spiritual practice or belief, whether you have one or not, whatever. But I'm always going back to, the biblical scriptures. My thought left me. The biblical scriptures where it says that, you know, a wife leaves her family and she cleaves unto her husband. So, that being the case, you have to know that your family will come first, your marriage, your children, your unit, your new unit. That's going to come before your family. So yes, you still have that relationship with your family, but then you have to set boundaries on both ends, especially with your family. You have to just set boundaries, and you have to, you know, discuss with your spouse these things that you're used to doing. This way, you as close as you used to be to your family. Kind of discuss it with your spouse to see what your husband would be comfortable with doing. So not that you would kick your family to the curb completely, but you have to set boundaries, because at the end of the day, you're married now, and your husband's going to come first. So you just have to set boundaries and make things clear in communicating, even in counseling, as to the role that each person's family will have in the relationship. You guys both, you and your husband both understand that you're going to come first before both families. But you still need to discuss, like, if something were to happen, or if they needed you for something, or if one of you guys had to take care of your parent or whatever. That's something that's important to at least talk about beforehand, so you'll have an idea if something were to happen. Would your spouse be okay with your taking care of your elderly mother, father, relative, ailing relative? So, yeah.
I agree. There's so many conversations that can be had before marriage. I know that's why a lot of people do courtship for like a year, or, you know, just a time period, so that those things can be discussed. Because when you jump right into it, it can cause a lot of problems and hardships within the marriage. And I'll say for myself, this is me just, you know, sharing, you know, little things that I picked up and found out throughout marriage. So this is just an open conversation for us to have, and it's not for like, oh, what's tea on sis? Now, it is not that. It's just to open up conversations and have this. Because honestly, I wish we could have had conversations like this prior to being married. You know what I'm saying? But we're opening the conversation. So counsel is important. If you take anything away from this video, counsel is extremely important. Especially wise counsel from elders. I think that we definitely need more of that within our entire community. So marriage counseling and all that is, I think, is something everyone should do before marriage.
I do agree. I definitely agree.
So those were really the topics that we had to discuss. Wani, you wanted to add anything else?
Yeah, just take your time before you make this lifelong decision. Because a lot of times when we get married, we want, all of us, I would think, most of us want it to be the one and the only, right? Till death do us part, right? So keeping that in mind when you make these decisions about marrying someone, just make sure that you thought it through, you prayed about it. You have a checklist of things that you, non-negotiables. You have your non-negotiables. And so make sure you don't compromise on those. Those are very important because somewhere down the line, like I didn't have any non-negotiables, negotiables, I didn't have anything. And it was a rough road. We ended up divorcing, but that was the best thing I could have done at that point because I just didn't know so much, and I pretty much made a bad choice, and vice versa probably, you know. But now that I know, you did when you don't know, that's one thing, but now that you know, just make better decisions. And so for me, I will get married again, and so once I get married again, I would have learned from that prior relationship of 13 years what to look for, what non-negotiables, what do's and don'ts, and just so much. I've learned a lot through that failed marriage to be a better wife for the next successful, I would say, marriage. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I wanted to piggyback on that because you can, if this is not to discourage those who are in marriage, right? Because if you're experiencing problems like, man, I really wish I would have knew that before I got married. You can still tackle these issues while you're in marriage. Make no mistake, like you can tackle these issues. This is just for those who, have not, been married yet and they would like to get married. These are things that you should know beforehand. But you can still tackle these issues while in marriage, and there's nothing that prayer cannot fix. There's nothing that talking to the Father cannot fix. You have to have a relationship with Him, in order to even have a successful life, let alone a marriage. So, this is just to give encouragement to those who are seeking to be married, and, those who are, stay encouraged and keep your prayer life with the Father. The Father will lead you and guide you always. So with that said, I think we're done. I think we out.
Thank you for tuning into Aman's channel.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for listening to our chat. We appreciate it. If you have not done so, please like, share, subscribe, thumbs up. Hit the notification bell to be notified whenever Aman does a new video. Come on over to Diaspora Connect Tanzania. Check me out. We're going to be doing more chats like this. This is a series of for the sisters, all based on biblical perspectives. And yeah, just to help us become better daughters of Zion, better wives, better women, better mothers. We need to chat. Yeah.
Thanks, Juan. Thanks, sis. Bye, y'all.
Bye.